Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Harrogate series. Harrogate is a large borough, one of the 11 districts of North Yorkshire. It's got 139 civil parishes. Which one are we in this episode? Welcome back to Harrogate again, everybody. Now, if you thought Newby with Mulwith was a really small place last week, apart from obviously Newby Hall, which is a big grand mansion, then this place is extremely small, This is the parish that sits between Newby with Mulwith and Bridge Hewick, and there ain't a lot to it. Probably the biggest feature is what you can see behind me there. That's the gates. Those are the gates we used to exit Newby Hall last week. Welcome to the parish of Givendale. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Givendale, Gythla's Valley. Now then folks, this one will test your memories a little bit, but it will also pull together a few loose ends from the last two episodes. This is one of the smallest parishes in the former Harrogate district, and why it hasn't been absorbed into another one by now is anyone's guess. This is Givendale, which has a population of about 10 people, who live in a sporadic collection of even fewer houses. It occupies a tract of land on the eastern side of the River Ure between Newby Hall and the village of Bridge Hewick, and its boundaries take in a lot of farmland north and west of Skelton on Ure. It has pretty much no major landmarks, at least none of the kind we're accustomed to seeing, but Givendale has played a key role in the history of Newby Hall. Before Sir Christopher Wren built the Grade 1 listed mansion we saw last time, there was a manor house which dated back to the 13th century. Before even that, however, Givendale had this area's principal residence. It was built on a circular mound north of the present hall and was owned by the powerful Ward family, who later became more associated with Mulwith. Of course, the house no longer stands, but the mound still exists, as do the remnants of a moat. There's more to this one than meets the eye. Come with me and let's have a look. We start where we left off last week. These are the gate lodges through which you exit the Newby Hall estate. Commonly known as the Givendale lodges, they date from the early 19th century. They're the only listed buildings here, but there are some other residences scattered here and there. None of them, however, are up this track I'm taking you down now. This rather rough road leads downhill and seemingly into the middle of nowhere, but what it's actually doing is heading for two big water features. One is the bank of the River Ure, the other is Givendale Lake. Both are used by the White Rose Sailing Association. The lake covers some 28 acres and has a wide slipway with two jetties used to launch their boats. They also sail on a dedicated half-mile stretch of the Ure. As well as boats, they also use paddleboards, canoes and kayaks. Not that we can see any of that, it's a members-only club, and this gate is as far as we can go. So if there are no houses at the lakeside, where are they? Well, there are three distinct clusters. Great Givendale, Little Givendale and Givendale Grange. Great Givendale is probably the most important of the three. Further up the road towards Bridge Hewick, we'll come to it. Effectively just a huge farmhouse with a collection of associated outbuildings and what have you, Great Givendale was the location of the original mansion which predated Newby Hall. It was built on a circular mound with a moat around it. The house no longer stands, but the mound and the moat are still visible to the north of the modern farmhouse. As you can see from the picture I've inserted here, the mound is best seen from aerial photographs. The moat which surrounded the mound was dug from an old meander of the River Ure. It was the seat of the powerful Ward family, and records show they acquired the site in 1266. The mound for a while was thought to have possibly been related to the Romans because fragments of tessellated pavement have been found at it. However, any potential Roman connection has now been quashed by further research by the experts. Even so, the mound still gets referred to as the camp. As for the Ward family, their history can be traced back to the time of Henry I. They would later go on to be associated with Mulwith, the farm located to the south of Newby Hall, and with Christopher Wright, one of the men behind the gunpowder plot in 1605. We're now on Skelton Lane, and if you follow this to its end, you end up in Skelton on Ure. Now, in terms of layout, Givendale, Skelton and Newby form a distorted triangle-like shape, and all three are historically linked with each other. We already know how Givendale was linked to Newby, and how Newby was linked to Skelton. Back in the days of that original mansion house, Skelton was a bailiwick or appendage of Givendale. In broad terms, that means it was a secondary settlement and far less important. The roles have been reversed a bit now. We're now at Little Givendale, a cluster of properties where there's another farm, arguably the largest in the parish. The third area, Givendale Grange, is up a private road further down Skelton Lane. Compton Farms oversee all the agricultural activity in this area. The Comptons have plans to open a quarry at Great Givendale, but whether this actually happens remains to be seen. That'll do us for this one though. Not the most enthralling of places, but it still had a bit to talk about, didn't it? See you on the banks of the Ure again next week. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.